Hello, Earthen Sojourner here. Hey, I got a couple things I want to talk about with you today. A few things that have been in the news that I have opinions about. Of course, no shortage of opinions here. So stick around, hit the like button, hit subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know there's somebody out there that's listening to me. Well, I'm sure that you all have heard that now Bishop Noel Jones has engaged to his longtime girlfriend of 28 years. He proposed marriage in church with a crackerjack box, no less. What is it with these bishops? So, I'm going to let you know about the three bishops that are now 60 plus and have decided after a long life of bachelorhood to get married. And one other thing that I just got to say something about that I'm going to wait and surprise you with. But there's two things that I want you to remember and to hear as my main concerns as I'm making this video. And one is just about the sanctity and the seriousness of the marriage covenant. And the other is really the worth of Black women. So back in October, Bishop Winans made the announcement to his church that he had proposed to his longtime girlfriend, Deneen, 15 years long, and that they were planning to get married. They must still be in the planning stages. I haven't heard about a date being set or any other movement on this. So if anybody has, go ahead and hit me up in the comments if you know that a date has been set. I'm wishing them the best. I'm wishing that this is a real, a recognition, that this is what they needed to do after 15 years and that they have a happy marriage. But as of yet, haven't heard about a date. One thing I will say though, because I do often listen in on the live stream of Perfecting Service, is that the camera always makes sure that at least once during the service they pan over and give a shot of Bishop Winans' fiance in the midst of her praise and worship. And so they're keeping that connection and they're putting it out there to the public. And, I think that's a good thing. So now we have Bishop Noel Jones, 72 years old, been with his girlfriend Loretta for rumored 28 years. And he proposes with a crackerjack box in church. Now, I don't know if the ring was a crackerjack ring, but still, I don't know. I had some pretty weird feelings about that one, in addition to the show me your ring, child. And the last bishop, of course, is Bishop Larry Trotter. Now, I don't know how long he's been with Dr. Tracy. And I say that because he's been married 3 or 4 times, and he probably couldn't say it was a 20-year relationship without saying that, yeah, he had been, in this outside affair with Dr. Tracy. But it doesn't seem like it has been as long as the previous bishops in their relationships. But what is it anyway? With these 60-plus-year-old guys deciding that they now, all of a sudden, after they've been in these extended, ridiculously long relationships, ridiculously long without some sort of a covenant commitment. Because I think it's great that they've been in a relationship for that long, but without a covenant commitment, that now, for whatever reason, they feel like they need to establish that covenant relationship. And I don't really have an issue with it. I think everybody deserves love. I'm not even really talking about the age of the bishops either. So I don't know. I don't know why they feel a need to get married at this late stage in their life unless they just don't want to be alone, and that is a perfectly valid reason. I don't have any issues with their quest for love and companionship and not wanting to be alone as they continue in their senior years. My concerns are about motivation and methods. Not even really that concerned about motivation, because at some point those women are going to have to figure that out, and make sure that their motivations are genuine both ways, both from the bishops and from the women. We've heard lots of jokes about, Bishop Jones needing somebody to push him in a wheelchair, and questioning whether Bishop Trotter is sick and now needs a nursemaid, and whether the same is true of Marvin Winans, or is that why he's still bishop-elect? Because typically or scripturally, bishops are supposed to be married. So those are all kind of the stories out there about motivation. And as I said, I'm not that concerned about motivation. I'm just more concerned about methods. So when I think about methods, what bothers me is sort of the lack of solemnness about the marriage decision. And marriage really is a solemn, and it's a covenant relationship. It's also hard work, and I recognize that they are all very public, in the public eye people, have large congregations, and so are looking to find ways to include the congregation and make sure that they're informed in an attempt to be pretty transparent, because everybody would probably be like, oh my goodness, if he just up and announced one Sunday from the pulpit that he had already gotten married, that any of them had already gotten married. And so the idea of a public announcement really makes sense to me. But let's take Noel Jones first. The Cracker Jack box really minimizes some of the solemnness of the marriage covenant. As a bishop, he might have considered proposing in private, extending that announcement first to family, taking it out another step to the church elders and managers, and then bringing it to the public eye. The Cracker Jack box really felt like it minimalized not just Loretta, but also the whole aspect of getting married, the seriousness. I don't even care what the ring looked like. I didn't look at that part. Maybe y'all can see it. What in tarnation? And did he ever really ask her? I mean, I hope it wasn't a surprise, even though she appeared surprised. I would hope that after 28 years that you had at least talked about the prospect of getting married before a proposal. And so I hope that the proposal was staged and planned in some ways, and that it wasn't a total surprise, because, well, first of all, what if she would have said no? And secondly, he didn't really ask her. So we'll never know if it was the announcement of an engagement and just sort of a stage proposal for his congregation to see, or if it really was just off the cuff and, with a Cracker Jack box and a Cracker Jack ring. Either way, marriage deserves more. It deserves more seriousness. It deserves to be held higher in much more solemn regard. So I'm going to give it to Bishop Larry Trotter. At least he did it in what appeared to be the confines of a home surrounded by family. And I think that's a really appropriate way to do it. Again, I'm hoping that we're talking to our potential marriage partners about that, so that before we even say yes or start to plan on this covenant relationship, that we're talking about what that means before we ask and pop the question, so that it's this really huge surprise. I got the feeling they've been together for a while. I think he's been divorced about 5 or 6 years, but still, I hope it wasn't a surprise. Just like out of the blue, we've been dating, I'm going to ask you to marry me. Maybe that works. And we've already discussed Bishop Winans. He had proposed, obviously, in private, and then brought the announcement to the church. Now, there's lots of stuff that was said about the announcement and how that appeared, but it appears as though he did do the engagement, at least in private. So, my thing about the public announcements and the public proposals are that I just think that marriage needs to be taken much more seriously. I believe it's 1 in 3 marriages don't make it. And I don't know that we're taught as much anymore about marriage as a covenant relationship. It's hard to do that when you don't have folks from the pulpit talking about marriage, or even in practical reality, going through the process as though it's a covenant relationship and a very serious and solemn commitment that you're making. So my first point is really about that, because I think that we want to take marriage seriously. And if we don't have our Episcopal leaders, or the leadership, the clergy, who are doing that, who are proposing with Cracker Jack boxes and saying, show them the ring, child, then how can we, as the members, as the body, when we look to our leaders for guidance about those things, how can we're not seeing that. We're not seeing that seriousness and that solemnness that's associated with the covenant of marriage. We can do better. My last surprise thing that I wanted to just mention, because it does tie in to my second point about Black women are worthy and what our worth is what is the attraction of Nick Cannon? Come on now. Nick Cannon has 8 babies and 5 baby mamas. Am I right? And rest in peace. And, my heart goes out that I know that he just recently lost a young child. That's gotta be heart-wrenching. And so my heart goes out to him and his family, praying for their comfort. But what is the attraction in the first place? Maybe it's money. I don't know. But again, here we go with a very sort of famous out there in the public eye person who, our young men and our young women see these examples, and there's actually some church folks that are aligning themselves with him, which is surprising to me. But what is the attraction? Somebody tell me, somebody help me out. Write in the comments if you think he's attractive, and you're sexually attracted to him, or, well, they must be sexually attracted to him, right? They're getting pregnant and having babies by him. But what is the attraction? I just don't get it. He's kind of goofy. But it ties in to the issue of covenant relationships for me, and that we can't really promote really committed, established relationships, whatever they are, however the relationship's going to look, whether or not it ends up in marriage. If we're really okay with that he's like proudly boasting, he's got 8 babies by 5 baby mamas. Does he have a magic pee-pee? But my second issue is that as Black women, we are so worthy. We are so worthy of so much more. We are so worthy of not having to stay on the chain for 25 years, for 15 years. Maybe they had conversations about the nature of the relationship over that 25 years. But we know from the reality show that Miss Loretta has wanted to get married for 25 years. So, Black women, we are just worth so much more. We are so strong and resilient. We're the keepers, we're the creators, we're the life force of our family, and we deserve better. We deserve not to wait 25 years for a man, and we deserve not to be baby mama number 6. So I'm going to leave you with this. Relationships are serious, and the decision to get married is a covenant decision. You're going to be in a committed covenant relationship that you want to be covered so that it lasts and it thrives. We got to take it seriously. We can't propose out of a Cracker Jack box, or at least do that in private if it's a joke that you and your spouse to be get. When you come to the public eye, let's show that there's some love in the relationship, and let's show that there's some seriousness and some thought into the relationship. And Black women, I love you. I love you. We're worth so much more. It's my second reminder. You are so worthy. Stop wanting to be with somebody who can't make a commitment, whether it's to marriage after 25 years or whether it's to one person. Stop wanting to be with somebody who can't make a commitment. We are worth so much more. Thanks for sticking around and listening. If you didn't already do it, hit the subscribe button, hit like, leave me a comment, especially a comment as to why or what is the attraction to Nick Cannon. Thanks.